Hello.
Waiting in the sea, you and me were a dream that I just can't seem to touch.
Hi, guys. That song is Blood Red Sky by Argentina, who only has 30 subscribers, which is crazy to me. That song is so good. It has 440 views. All of those views are probably from me. Probably going to do an episode here soon, like this week, on music, like new music that I've discovered. But that'll be like a whole other thing because not everybody likes that. So this is stuff I find interesting. Episode 66, in case I didn't already say that. And I've been gone for a little bit, right? Like you guys haven't seen me. You're probably like, where's that girl? Honestly, I've just been really, really depressed. Really, really depressed. But knowing that I shouldn't be depressed because my life's not that bad right now. Things are going pretty good. I've worked hard at some things. Job is okay. I'm in a good relationship. I kind of like where I live. I wish it was a little bigger. I wish it was not around so much chaos. But generally speaking, I think I live in a beautiful area. Don't have a lot of debt. I have 3 beautiful cats. 2 sisters that I love. I mean, what else does a person need? I don't know. But I struggle with that and have my whole life, so it comes and it goes. And when it comes, I have to, kind of hang on for a little bit and then start to use coping skills to kind of come out of it. So it's been a constant thing my whole life. So I apologize for going missing. If you've been a subscriber, then you know that I am incredibly sporadic at best. So today we have some neat stuff, I think. Yeah, I went back and I looked at it. I did this like a month ago. So I went back and I was like, is this stuff still interesting? And you know what? Yes, it is. It is still interesting. So we're going to dive right into it. As you can see behind me is a mess. I walk past very fancy houses on my way to work, and it must be fall cleaning or something because everybody's cleaning their stuff out. And so I'm finding stuff on the side of the road going, hey, I could do something with that. But nothing is being done with that. But there will be. There will be. Yes, there will be at some point. This I'm planning on repainting and using for art. There's this medieval bird I kind of want to put on there. It's like a whole thing. Anyway, and then that thing, I don't know. I'm not really sure. But let's minimize myself and get right into it. We're going to start with Russian stone carvings date back to 12,000 BC. What? And look, it's like this weird looking horse. And if you saw this weird looking horse, you might say it's like a cartoon horse, like they were just drawing like a cartoon. But actually, no, they were not. They were drawing probably this horse here, Przewalski's horse, which is in Kazakhstan, which is eastern. It's kind of in the same area, I think. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass again. Did I look that up? I'm sure I did. Let me see. Khabarovsk. Let's look that up real quick. Khabarovsk. Let's look at the map. The map! Open in maps. Make it so. I gotta tell you guys, I'm gonna be a little punchy today. I haven't slept great in weeks. And, yeah, just a little punchy. Yeah, I mean, here's Mongolia. I don't know. I'm not really, it's not in the same area. It's completely different. I'm glad I looked it up. But still, it could have been this horse. Because, look. Let me go back up. I'm a mess. See? Horse. Horse. They look very similar. But anyhow, 12,000-year-old carvings. A small Nanai village in the Russian Far East, and we saw on the map it is very far east, is home to one of the country's oldest archaeological sites. The area is also famous for its mystical occurrences and other legends. So this is a city in Asia, but it's called the most European-looking city because of, well, you can see in the picture, it looks very European. It's very tranquil. There are petroglyphs along a river which have been dated to 12,000 BC. It doesn't say how or by whom it's been dated, though, because anybody could look at anything and say it's been dated. But I think I have read some actual research that shows that this is a very old place. The Khabarovsky Krai, which has about 789,000 square kilometers of territory, is one of the most sparsely populated places on the planet. These vast swaths, I'm petting my cat, of emptiness are visible when one drives on the highway that connects Khabarovsk with the industrial city of Komsomolsk on Amur. So there's about 200 petroglyphs. Hi, cat. What are you doing? Are we coming back? What are we doing? What's going on here? There's a cat. Okay, all right, okay. All right. Okay, I have to pet her. I have to. You just, when this happens, you have to go with it, right? So you're just going to have to deal with the tail for a minute. So there's 200 petroglyphs with a significant number being well preserved. The petroglyphs, stop showing your butthole to the camera. The petroglyphs are easily accessible as they are near the water's edge on basalt borders. The best time to visit the area is actually early or late winter, since the overflowing waters of the Amur hide them in the warmer months. The carvings date from different periods. They depict hunting scenes, animals, elk, horses, mammoths, shamans, and shamanic masks, and even people sitting in boats. So this article will be on the links along with everything else that I talk about, so you can read about it. But then after reading that, it's an article about how there isn't a what am I trying to say? Never mind. I completely lost it. The cat is like kneading my leg and I'm distracted. But it says that no, there wasn't a 12,000-year-old advanced civilization. That there were that 12,000 years ago we were still kind of primitive, didn't have a whole lot of technology, didn't understand a lot of things about a lot of things, that kind of thing. And that's the sort of narrative that folks like Graham Hancock, who's the other guy? Oh, freak. I have menopause brain this morning. Randall Carlson, they all talk about, the Younger Dryas and how there was an advanced civilization, but then it got blown up, flooded, whatever, what have you. But there are experts in the field, like real people who go to school for a really long time, who are saying, no, there wasn't a 12,000-year-old civilization that was advanced. So I think it really comes down to semantics. Like, what do we consider to be advanced? What's advanced? Building incredible megalithic structures based on astronomical events. I don't know. If that's not advanced, I don't know what is. I can't do that. Can you do that? I mean, maybe I could with a little bit of help, but I'm just saying that I think that 12,000 years ago people were advanced in certain ways, not all the ways. But I also believe that before that, there may have been people that were way more advanced. So, like, way back. Like, remember when I was talking about that 500,000-year-old log that they found in, I think, Nigeria, that showed evidence of human, like humans changed it in order to build something. And that was from 500,000 years ago. Like, that's a really long time. I'm having a great time today, guys. Look at this. Oh, man. They're probably cleaning up their site so that people like me can't look at it. Kicking out the pores. So this guy, Prison Hooch, about 2 episodes back, we were talking about making hooch, like an alcoholic beverage, out of circus peanuts. So this guy got 6 bags of circus peanuts, steamed canned syrup, 2 teaspoons acid blend, 1 teaspoon tannin, 4 grams fermade, front-loaded EC 1118. That sounds incredibly technical. I'm assuming this guy knows what he's doing because he successfully makes stuff that you could drink. So I said 4 months ago, how did it turn out? And he said, check for my update post. Finally ready. You the real MVP OP. Let's go see how it turned out. Let's see. Posts. Circus peanuts. Let's. Look at that. So that is an alcoholic beverage made out of circus peanuts that this guy lovingly made with great precision. It's got a foamy head and everything. So, how's it taste? It says like a mystery flavored soda. Nothing that would indicate circus peanuts, really. Very good overall. And so it was a few months that it took for it to come to the point where it could be drunk. This is amazing. Thank you for the update. So my cat, when she sits on my lap, I usually actually physically hold my legs up just a little bit so she's cradled a little bit better because my chair kind of slopes down. But doing this, I need to sit sort of more normally, so I'm not holding my legs up. And she's getting mad at me. Get down then. Ooh, makes me mad. Like, why can't you just move up or something? Like, I don't fucking know. I'm sorry. My lap's not that big. I mean, it's big, but it's not that big. In the last episode, we covered a town called Molochansk, also known as Malachna, if you're Russian, so different. This is an area where different people have claimed it over a very long period of time, so it has a lot of different names. But I want to talk about when it was called Halbstadt. It was a Mennonite, sort of like a colony. It was a whole village. And these folks were very rich, and they built a very beautiful town. But the thing that caught my attention are these tunnels. Tunnels? You know, anytime I hear about tunnels, I get incredibly interested. I'm still determined to find out if the city of Poughkeepsie, the city I live in, has tunnels, because I am 100% certain there is a network down there. And I'm pretty sure it starts from, wait, where am I? Over there. Over there is a Verizon building. And there's like these kind of like openings, but they're like sealed up. And I don't know. I just think there's a whole underground. I've heard stories, but we're going back to Halbstadt. Halbstadt. Now, I was, the last time when I was looking for stuff on this town, I saved a bunch of stuff. So I am just bringing this back. So this gentleman, my wife Mary and I learned of this rumor that Halbstadt has tunnels. In October 2016, during the weeks we spent in Molochansk, also known as Halbstadt, working in the Mennonite Center, the nonprofit humanitarian aid agency located in the renovated former Mennonite girls' school. So interesting to me that there's a lot of nonprofit humanitarian stuff going on, and that kind of shows you how it's not a calm area. There's a lot of strife and conflict. The tunnel rumor piqued my interest, and I began to make some inquiries about the Halbstadt tunnels. So he was able to go off and look around. And he was driving from place to place. He had expected people to, like, not be nice to him. But this one person said, I have a tunnel entrance, right, like in my backyard. Would you guys like to come? What was most amazing about our exploration that day was the cooperation of the local people in Molochensk. While the Mennonite Center opened 15 years ago, we were met with some suspicion and some hostility. Not so anymore. So this is one of the tunnels, which is more significant than just kind of a hole in the ground. So it is conjectured that there is a tunnel running from the Wilms mansion all the way to the Wilms flour mill, which is about 3.5 miles away. It was blocked. There was like passages that were blocked, so it was indeterminate as to whether or not. But here we have the map of New Halbstadt, and this is let me see. I'm looking to see if they have the. Here's Heinrich Wilms's house, but I think his place, is this his place over here? That seems like too short of a distance. I'm not sure. I'm missing something here. But here we are looking at one of the tunnels. Going down into the tunnels. So was this a rich old guy who built a bunch of tunnels for his own, so he didn't have to deal with people, or was it for safety? Was it used for something else? Was it there already and then added on to? Lots of questions, no answers. Just something I found interesting. Calligrapher's steel scissors. Every once in a while I see something like antique and I go, ooh, I don't know what that is, but I want a pair. Look at how beautiful these are. So calligrapher's scissors were, they were used to cut paper sheets to the correct size prior to binding, and the scissors had to be very precise, but as you can see by the pictures that were just on the screen, they weren't just precise, they were also very beautiful. And calligraphy used to be a lot more important than it is now. At various times in my life, I've said to myself, usually in the middle of the night, hey, I'm going to try calligraphy again. And then I get like a little journal and I get the pens and I do calligraphy for like maybe a month or two. And then it goes away. So, but that particular article has spurred my interest and it has made me think, hey, maybe it's calligraphy month again, right? So in my imagination, because houses are too expensive to buy and I will probably never ever own a home, I've been just letting my imagination go crazy on the houses that I could buy if I had endless money, right? So in my imagination I do. I bought this at a questionable supermarket, so I'm interested to see how it tastes. It's Old Time Black Cherry Soda. It's probably pure sugar. Not terrible. I think if you added a little seltzer water to it and some ice cubes, it would be perfect. It's a little bit too sweet. So this is one of the houses that I'm buying in my imagination. Or I thought about buying. I was like, let me look. And I'm like, a motorcycle. I'm not really a motorcycle person. There was this one time I was on the back of a motorcycle and I went from here, Poughkeepsie, about 3 hours north, I believe. I think it was 3 hours. It might have only been 2 hours. But can I tell you how sore my butt was? And there's considerable padding back there. So, I mean, it was rough. I was crying by the time I was done. Not a fan. But I understand the allure. But I'm also not a fan because I'm, like, afraid of everything. Afraid of falling. Afraid of someone running into me. I don't know. I'm just a big scaredy cat. Here we have, but I will say before I continue, if a meteor were to suddenly like crash outside and I had to like go into like crisis mode, I'd be fine. Cool as a cucumber. I'd be great. But everyday life, oh my God. So, more pictures of this place, which is very cold. I feel very cold looking at it, very chilly. Here we have a, what do you call those? Infinity pool? Is that what they're called? I mean, it's really cool looking. I dig it. It's just not my style. But I mean, they went all the way with this. Look at this stainless steel kitchen. It's like floor to ceiling stainless steel. But yet there are these unexpected curves, which keeps it from being too utilitarian, in my opinion. Here we have a grand piano. This is the bathroom. Fascinating house, right? It has its own theater, a bar. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. It looks like something for a hobby. Anybody have any idea what that might be for? I'm not sure. But there's all these kind of tables. Maybe those are storage. Maybe they're climate controlled storage containers of some kind. And there's art in there. I dig the courtyard. It'd be a good place to roller skate. Oh, I bought rollerblades. That's another thing I do every once in a while. I buy a pair of roller skates or rollerblades. And I say, oh, I'm gonna do rollerblading. Hang on, let me find the link to this house. Here we go. And I rollerblade for a month or two, and I fall down a lot, and then I don't rollerblade anymore. But I have some rollerblades, which were actually not purchased. They were given to me. But I probably would have purchased them at some point in the future and been like, I need a pair of rollerblades. Even though I can't do it very well, and I'm going to fall down a lot. In my fantasy, I use them to get to work. And I'm just like, when people are like, wow, who's that girl rollerblading in that weird outfit? But it won't be like that. This is another house. Love this shape. Love the fact that there's like this little kind of tree house thing going on. There's a tower up top. Love the rock walkway. Curious, what does the inside look like though? I didn't look at that. So, okay. Not quite as utilitarian as the other place, but there's still sort of a warehousey kind of vibe. Like a superhero has taken over like this manufacturing factory and turned it into his lair or her lair or their lair. This is the kitchen, which doesn't, the view's cool. It just doesn't seem very cozy. What's the purpose of that? Are those like little curtains that come down? Like, what is that? I don't even know. It's strange. Maybe it's used for events. Oh, look, there's more curtains. Oh, to block out the light in that particular spot the sun maybe comes through. That's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing they are to cut the glare from those huge ass windows. That's some pretty tile. Weird. That room is just weird. The entryway has like this little balcony. So you could like lean over and be like, did you get the eggs? There's a catwalk, another bathroom. This must be on the very, very top. Not in love with it, but it sure is interesting. Is it not? Apologies for my sniffles. Where is the link? There we go. Here we have another place. Yeah, I can tell it's very, very, very expensive and exquisitely outfitted with the greatest whatever, but not a fan. I mean, would I be a fan if I had to live there? Somebody was like, Laura, you have to live there. I mean, of course I'd love it, and I'd live there because it's fun. It's like just, But if I had the money to choose, I would not go with this particular vibe, even though I can see it's... Somebody will love that thing. However, this could potentially be my spot. This is a maritime fort. There's two of them. They're called the Solent Forts. And they are going up for auction. They were originally maritime forts, and then they became boutique hotels, and now they're up for sale on the real estate market for individual purchase and or use. Like, you don't have to continue it being a boutique hotel. Here we have some photos. It's not that far away from land. Like, the land is not that far away. Look at that. That's really cool. They did a good job, I feel like, making it interesting. Here it is from above. The Spitbank Fork. You can see we have a massive skylight. We've got some shrubbery. And then the other one, is this the other one? Or is this the same one? What did I do? I think this is the same one, just some more pictures. It's not bad. I like it because it's away from people, but it's in view of people. Like, I'm the type of person I like to be away from everybody, because being around people sometimes is hard for me. In general, doesn't matter who they are. But at the same time, I need to be able to be close to people. So it's a conundrum. Anybody else like that? Like, I love people, but at the same time, I'm a fairly solitary person. So, all right, we're going to go into the main topic today. And the main topic is weird things in India. I had mentioned before, I believe, that we were going to start talking about India. And one of the things I realized fairly swiftly is that that is too broad of a topic. So I'm just going to talk about little bits of it here and there, different parts. But what I'm especially interested in are the UFO theories, the Indian ancient technology that the Nazis supposedly took and retrofitted in order to utilize to win the war. Now, this is how Buddhism spread through Asia, like the start of Buddhism and where it went. So we're segueing into India. I was going to show a bunch of pictures to get us in the mood, but this thing got too overly long and I had to like trim some stuff out of it. Otherwise, I'd be talking for 2 hours, which is just potentially too much. I don't know that I could hear myself for 2 hours. An hour, cool, yeah, for sure. Anyhow, Buddhism. And it starts right here. So what's going on right there? What happened right there? What existed right there to help propel the spread of Buddhism, a very important religion in the world? And the answer is this place. Nalanda Mahavihara. It was a I guess you could say a monastery, but it was a Buddhist monastery. But it was more than that. It was a university for learning. It was a huge complex. What we're looking at here is What we're looking at here is the biggest building that's been, the whole top is gone. And there's probably more to be dug out underneath. The whole thing was completely covered. Here's another picture of it. You can see it's... these are some of the artifacts that were found there. This is a 3D model of what it looks like. And it's just the model, but then it's seen from different angles, and you can see it's massive. There's an incredible piece of architecture. Nalanda was a renowned Buddhist Mahavihara, which is great monastery, in ancient and medieval Magadha, modern-day Bihar, eastern India. Widely considered to be among the greatest centers of learning in the ancient world, it was located near the city of Rajagriha, now Rajgir, roughly 90 kilometers southeast of Pataliputra. Operating from 427 CE until the 13th century, it played a vital role in promoting the patronage of arts and academics during the 5th and 6th century CE, a period that has since been described as the Golden Age of India. Nalanda was established by Emperor Kumaragupta of the Gupta Empire around 427 CE and was supported by numerous Indian and Javanese patrons, both Buddhist and non-Buddhists, and then it continued to thrive. So some of the most revered scholars in Buddhism went through this university, and there were subjects, there was a huge library. There were subjects like grammar, medicine, logic, mathematics, astronomy, alchemy. It had a renowned library that was a key source for the Sanskrit texts that were transmitted to East Asia by pilgrims like Zhu Zhang, who I'll show you in a minute, and Yi Jing. Many texts composed at Nalanda played an important role in the development of Mahayana and Vajrayana. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it's been revived and not necessarily rebuilt, but put into a place where tourists aren't going to have bricks falling on their heads. Now you notice I'm saying things like had a library. There was a library. So what happened? What happened is around 1200 CE, there was a fire and a lot of stuff burned. And then this one doesn't really break it down, but I'll break it down for you. It went It was a series of attacks and a series of events, and it was a block of time throughout history that it sort of fell. But most of what was theirs was lost, and it's considered one of the greatest losses. It's up there with the burning of the Alexandria Library, certainly to Indian history. Here is the ruins of ancient Indian University of Nalanda destroyed in medieval times by fanatic invaders. Now, that's a sort of inflammatory statement. The title and the description in the image are overly sensationalistic. I'm sure it has nothing to do with OP's political views. In any case, the decline of Nalanda is concomitant with the disappearance of Buddhism in India. When Xuanzang traveled the length and breadth of India in the 7th century, he observed that his religion was in slow decay and even had ominous premonitions of Nalanda's forthcoming demise. Buddhism had steadily lost popularity with the laity and thrived thanks to royal patronage only in the monasteries of Bihar and Bengal. By the time of the palace, the traditional Mahayana and Hinayana forms of Buddhism were imbued with tantric practices involving secret rituals and magics. The rise of Hindu philosophies in the subcontinent and the waning of the Buddhist Pala dynasty after the 11th century meant that Buddhism was hemmed in on multiple fronts: political, philosophical, and moral. The final blow was delivered when its still flourishing monasteries, the last symbols of its existence in India, were overrun during the Muslim invasions that swept across northern India at the turn of the 13th century. From what I understand and what I've been reading, that particular invasion was incredibly destructive to almost the whole of northern India. There was so much that was destroyed and lost. And then it wasn't rebuilt, and then it fell into obscurity. This is an example of one of the texts that would have been there. This is one that was saved. It would have had multiple pages like this. Let me see if I can shrink this. I can. And this is where it would have been bound. How you read them, how that worked, I don't know. I didn't get that far. But this is what one of them looks like. This is another discussion about Nalanda. So what happened to the university in the end? Did it fall into disrepair as finances dried up, or was it actually destroyed in a Goddardammerung military raid? I'm curious. This is an oft-repeated talking point by fundies. Response. I am Bangladeshi, and my maternal line is said to have been converted from Buddhist. We come near the Myanmar border. The Muslims destroyed Nalanda is pure propaganda by Hindu literati. Be wary of most Indian history where Muslim rulers are portrayed as being marauders. It is concocted to justify hatred against living Muslims. The reason why I'm reading that is because as you go further down, the conversation devolves. This is a monastery that the death knell was in the 12th century, the 13th century, 12th century. And we're still talking about it. And there are people still arguing about it. Which to me is wild. It's just wild. This will be in the links. This is a fantastic photo sort of montage of Nalanda. Let me go back up. As you can see, there's this large kind of park area. Here we go, as we swoop out. So this whole entire thing was buried with just the tippy top sticking out. It looked like there was nothing there at all, like it was just earth. There's even some 3D stuff you can do. It's a little janky, but it's fun to sort of walk around and look at the different things. These are the mounds. This is when they started to dig it out. So you could see at first it was just a hill. And then as they started to dig it out, it became uncovered. This is what it looked like prior. Just a mound. And this British officer went, it looks like there's something under there. And sure enough, here's some of the art. So, you get the picture. So I said I was going to talk about Zhuangzang just a little bit. This guy traveled 10,000 miles along the Silk Road in the Indian subcontinent on foot. I'm sure there may have been donkeys and camels along the way, but mostly he was on foot. The map, look, I can't even, look how big this map is. He started over here and went all the way over here. This is a huge desert. What was that place we talked about that in that one episode all the way over here? Oh lordy, I don't remember. But this guy went to Nalanda. He walked from China to Nalanda because he was Buddhist and he wanted to study there. And he wanted to learn the true teachings of the Buddhist, not what had filtered along this vast distance. So he took a walk. And the whoever was in charge at that time, whoever was his leader, was like, no, you can't go. You need to come back. But he kept going. And he even got lost in the Gobi Desert and wandered for several days. He almost lost hope of surviving when his horse miraculously led him to a spring. Thus he was saved. The prospect of traveling along the Silk Road was challenging given the severe weather and massive expanse of land covered with desolate sand dunes and formidable snow-capped mountains. There was also the menace of bandits on the highways. Despite all the dangers, Zhuangzang traveled along the Silk Road for months on end. He, in fact, became popular in the cities along the Silk Road. People came to know about him, and often news of him reached the place before he reached there himself. Many a time, people gathered around him just to listen about his travel experience. His eloquence, understanding of Buddhist subjects, and purpose of going to India won him admiration and support from kings, monks, merchants, and common people. The king of Kouchang, Turpin, that's the place, was so impressed with Zhuangzang that he persuaded him to stay in his kingdom as the chief priest. King Kang of Sushi also sought to dissuade Zhuangzang from going to India. He tried to frighten him by telling him about the hot weather. At the end, however, mostly everybody supported him in what he was doing because it was just so epic. I mean, he also hoped to kind of connect the two regions, and he hoped that there would be more travel kind of back and forth. As we know from previous episodes, it hasn't worked out so well. They're not friends. So there you have it. Just something to make you feel even more lazy. I'm sitting on my butt and this dude walked 10,000 miles. Here's another map that's a little easier to see. I can't enlarge. But you can see. He went all the way down here. Started here. That is just... I can't imagine. It's just wild to me. And as usual, here's a discussion on Reddit. Speaking of discussions on Reddit, there's talk about putting some stuff on Reddit behind a paywall. Now, why is that happening? I'll tell you why it's happening. It's happening because people are going to Google and they're looking for something and they're getting blocked, denied, can't find what they're looking for. So then they say, let me go to a massive social media site where there might be a lot of information in one place, like Reddit. So if you want to find cool stuff, a lot of times you type in whatever it is on Google, you type Reddit and then what it is you're looking for, and you get something deeper than what you would get by going to Google, which is wild to me. Which is also why they want to monetize it, because they recognize that a lot more people are utilizing the site, and they're utilizing the site for information. So what's one of the great currencies of this modern age? Information. It's kind of disheartening. It is one of the things that I'm validly depressed about. All this censorship, the removal of the sites and information. It's like the burning of Nalanda. It's like the burning of that library. It's not that dissimilar. Watching all this stuff disappear. Deliberately, I might add. Deliberately. It's crazy to me. Crazy to me. But heading into conspiracy land. Let's head into conspiracy land with Nalanda for a minute, shall we? Let's go down here. Down here. No, let's go further. Let's go here. Okay. Nalanda in India's Bihar state was once the most important Buddhist monastery in the world. The 6 excavated temples there are oriented approximately to the cardinal directions, but their east-west axes are tilted more than 4 degrees south of east. Other key Buddhist temples with the same cultural milieu are similarly oriented in a few degrees south of east. According to these authors, it demands an explanation because the method to orient structures to within 0.5 degrees of the cardinal directions was known in the region for several centuries prior to the construction of these temples. They identify a temporal pattern in the orientation, hypothesize that each temple was aligned with the rise of a specific star, Beta Librae, with the temporal pattern being a consequence of axial precession, propose a simple unified explanation for the few exceptions to the pattern, and use this hypothesis to propose an approximate construction date for each temple based on its orientation. What does all that mean? I'm going to break it down for you. What it means. A new model to explain the alignment of certain sites. I'm not going to read this out loud. It'll be in the links if you want to read it. But what it comes down to is some sites, and it might not necessarily be Nalanda. Nalanda might just be aligned to this star. Why? We're not sure, but we're going to talk about the star in a minute. But I am going to back up and say that there is some thought that many sites were aligned to when the pole was in a different place. So the North Pole wanders around. And there seem to be a multitude of sites that are lined up with where the pole used to be. And if it's where the pole used to be according to our map, if we follow like where it was, okay, it was here in 1800, it was here in 1700, it's like way further back than what we think of as the creation of that site. What am I saying? I'm saying that Nalanda could potentially be much, much, much older than 476 CE or whatever that number was. And there are rumors that it is built upon the ruins of an even older site. But let's talk about that star. Now, the fancy word for this star is Zubeneleshamali. Say that 5 times fast. Is it a green star? It's the brightest star in the constellation Libra, the scales. Early observers often describe Beta Librae as a green star. Many stargazers agree. They're like, yeah, that star is green. But according to scientists, we don't see green stars. Stars emit a spectrum of colors, including green, but within the range of wavelengths and intensities found in stars, greens get mixed in with other colors. And so, according to astrophysics, stars can appear green. For stars, their general colors are from lower to higher temperatures: red, orange, yellow, white, and blue. Blue being the hottest. There are no green stars, according to scientists. Physicist Ben Bartlett delves into the detail of why stars can't be green in the comments associated with the following tweet. So you can tweet on this and you can read about why there are no green stars. But people say, the common observer, they say that star is green. Maybe it was green, more green in the past due to some phenomenon that we don't know or understand. Perhaps the sky was, clouded up with volcanic ash. I'm not really sure. But it's interesting. It has its luminosity, like if you were to get right up close to it, is 130 times that of the sun. So it's big. It's a big star. Why did they align to that particular star? Is it because it's in the direction of where the North Pole used to be? Or what is it really specifically on that star? They haven't really figured it out. But some of the ancient texts that were kept at Nalanda, at this library, mention ancient technology. And archaeologists, scientists, people, teachers, whatever, have kind of been like, well, they're just folk tales. That stuff didn't really exist. They didn't really have that. That's just, a story. But this is a deep dive into the fascinating futuristic technology from the past with Brishti Guha and Indrani Guha. In recent years, the Pentagon and NASA have acknowledged that UFOs or UAPs are real. Let me say that again. In recent years, the Pentagon and NASA have acknowledged that UFOs or UAPs are real, rather than being simply figments of science fiction or enthusiasts' imaginations. Luis Elizondo, who headed the Pentagon's investigation into unexplained aerial phenomena, highlighted the unusual features of UFOs that he had gleaned from many years of probes into accounts of strange airborne objects seen by pilots and naval officers. We describe some of these below. Unlike the aircraft we are used to, UFOs or UAPs typically don't have wings or visible rotors or windows. They tend to be tubular or oval like mints, although they are not necessarily tiny. Pilots have reported some of them to be about 40 feet long. And then if we talk about the Phoenix lights, someone said that UFO was the size of a football field. They can change direction at gravity-defying velocities. They can react to approaching U.S. aircraft or submarines by retreating at a distance of 60 miles within a few seconds. They can also go underwater. They can descend rapidly from a height of 80,000 feet at speeds roughly 30 times the speed of sound and position themselves motionless above the sea. They can stay completely still. They can go underwater, which I just said, and they move at roughly twice the speed of nuclear submarines. They also display a wide variety of movements. Observers have seen them rotating, hovering, receding, and moving side to side like ping pong balls. So, what does this have to do with ancient Indian technology? So let's scroll down a little bit. This brings us to parallels with UFOs in ancient Indian literature. Ancient Indian had legends about a godly race we considered hugely superior to our own in terms of power, longevity, and technology. These beings rode in self-propelled, flight-worthy vehicles that, unlike more typical chariots common to various countries' myths, were not yoked by birds or animals. These vehicles could not only fly in the air, but could also traverse multiple media: water, land, and air. And then it goes into the stories, and the author of this article is making parallels back and forth between it all. There's this other manual named the Vaimanika Shastra. It is particularly striking for the similarity of the properties of its craft with the features exhibited by UFOs. The history behind the book is complicated. Most things are complicated. We must remember that the technology conceived of in these texts was, by these counts, 5,000 years old. So in what directions did this technology subsequently evolve? Did it evolve? We are left with an intriguing mosaic of clues which suggests that at least some ancient humans were not only familiar with UFOs, but even perhaps had a hand in developing them. So that's some pretty big stuff. Which brings us to the Vimana, which is a very specific craft in ancient Indian manuscripts. Atmanirbharta, or achieving self-reliance in defense manufacturing, is one of the key national objectives of India today. I did horribly mispronounce that word. The focus has been on reducing dependency on defense imports and indigenization of the items presently being imported. A key area of action is aerospace. The Germans, the Chinese, and many others have been avid fans of India's ancient past and the vast knowledge that is so well documented in the ancient manuscripts. Lots more information may be residing still in millions of unread documents held in thousands of places of different Indian religions and sects. Remember, they have those big carved caves. It could be in one of those. Some of them may be a gold mine of information that may propel India back to the position of glory it once held. India was glorious. Here is a drawing of it, of one of the things that they conceived of. They had the concept of zero, the decimal system, negative numbers, arithmetic and algebra, trigonometry, sines, cosines, practical mathematics covering length, proportions, ratios, weights, geometric shapes. They used the Pythagorean theorem, geometric area equivalence. They are estimated to have about 30 million manuscripts dating back to 700 BC. The Sanskrit word Vimana first appeared in the Vedas with several meanings ranging from temple or palace to mythological flying machine. References to these flying machines were common in the ancient Indian text, even describing their use in warfare and being able to fly within Earth's atmosphere. Vimanas were also said to be able to travel into space and underwater. The sun and Indra and several other Vedic deities were transported by flying wheeled chariots pulled by animals, usually horses, but others like the, I'm not going to pronounce that, elephant powered or powered by fire. There's also talk of mechanical birds. So what am I getting at here? What I'm getting at is that I believe that there were concepts and things in these manuscripts that show that people were way more advanced in the past than we give them credit for, which goes back to what I was saying at the very beginning of all of this. The propulsion of the Vimanas was by mercury vortex engines, apparently a concept similar to electric propulsion. Childress also finds evidence for the mercury vortex engine in the Samarangana Sutrahara, an 11th century treatise on architecture. Now, if you've ever seen the movie Stargate, the original one with James Spader, you'll remember they were in like a temple thing, pyramid temple thing, and then the pyramid temple thing took off, which makes me think that whoever wrote that screenplay knew about the Vimanas. This is a 5,000-year-old flying machine found by American soldiers in Afghan cave. I'm not sure what that's about. That seems like that's bullshit. Let me look. Apologies for my foul language. Petroglyphs in the Diamir Basha Dam area. This is in Pakistan. Not what we're talking about, but nearby. The Nazis developed the first recent pulse jet engines for their V-8 rockets. Hitler and the Nazi staff were greatly interested in ancient India and Tibet and sent regular expeditions to both of these places in the 30s to gather evidence. Interestingly, Soviet scientists discovered old instruments used in navigating cosmic vehicles in caves in Turkestan and the Gobi Desert. Take that with a grain of salt. I don't really see a whole lot of sources here. Talks about its appearance and common in books, films, internet, and video games. NASA is trying to create an ion engine that uses a stream of high-velocity electrified particles. Interestingly, the aircraft engines being developed for future use, by some strange coincidence, also use mercury bombardment units powered by solar cells. So is there something to ancient Indian manuscripts where there's perhaps something? There are rumors that the Nazis built a UFO called, what wasn't a UFO to them because they knew what it would have been a UFO to everybody else, is the Glock, or the bell-shaped UFO. You know, and that brings us back to bells, which is going to be discussed in the next episode, because there's a lot of interesting stuff, I believe. So it's like bells, Indian architecture, and UFOs. But really what I think we're talking about are wavelengths. We're talking about frequency. I think it all comes down to frequency. But what do I know? I'm seeing what Hummus is up to. So Hummus is one of my favorite. This is LiveJournal. I believe he lives in Russia. This is one of my favorite places to go. However, I've noticed that there are a lot of older posts where I can't look at the pictures, which is very sad, because he has pictures that, incredible ones. Not, I mean, these are obviously beautiful pictures, but he has some historical pictures that are just out of this world, like these here. But first, before we segue into looking at stuff, this is a I had paused it so her butt was up in the air. This is a Red Bull diving competition, and it's a Red Bull diving competition in a stairwell. And in case you've forgotten or don't know what a stairwell is, it's a well. It's ancient Indian well. Let's find one where we can see the whole thing and not just part of it. These are all these fancy pictures. I don't want a fancy picture. I just want a picture of what it looks like inside. Meh. Well, this is irritating. Let me go all the way back up to the top. This is the best we're going to get. This is a stairwell. This is the wall structure that surrounds it, and then these stairs go down, 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 down into the water. Here we have people that have gone down, down, down. There are stairwells of various sizes and different designs, although they kind of stick to sort of the same thing. There are variations. If we look at this one has some fanciness going on, but Red Bull was like, hey, why don't we have a diving competition in one of these stairwells?
Yeah, it's my first time here in India. It was a bit of an eye-opener in the beginning. Everything's very interesting and intriguing, and to dive in the stepwell was something very, very different.
It combines everything, a little bit of history. It's just a beautiful location, really tricky too. Amazing, one of the best locations I've seen so far.
Wow. Oh,
The
man.
main challenge of diving in a location like this is a small area for landing. You know, you have to make sure you're right in the center of it. There's actually some steps underwater that you need to be aware exactly where they are. You can't push too far. We have to make sure we analyze every single.
You can watch this on your own. It just wild. So remember my guy's fantastic cat.
Hey there.
So that's the guy
From Fantastic
from
Cat.
Counting Crows.
How'd you get my number, Mike?
I'm doing great too. So we've got this new song we've been working on, and we would love for you to sing on it.
Yeah, no.
I love these guys. This is probably copyrighted. It's probably gonna get blocked.
Lost the cats tonight. Anyways, I gotta
But you'll
go.
see the production
See ya.
of this particular video, which was made after the other ones I've shown you. Look, you can see the production level.
Don't worry,
This is
guys.
the guy from
I
Run
actually
DMC.
just downloaded
So
this killer new Counting
I feel like
Crows
they're
plugin for Pro Tools.
they're getting noticed.
Wait, how does that work?
They're getting noticed.
tricky. I haven't.
Here's the song. I'll just play the first part, but I love this.
Read the news and her interviews. She went up, she went high.
Oh, hello. Great song, right? Oh man, I love that song. So, Fantastic Cat. Watch that video. Go support them. They're awesome. I love them. This is another song that I discovered and recently, and I'm going to play it while we look at some photos. I love it. So, and I can relate, like he wakes up at the edge of the lake. I too have woken up at the edge of the lake. Actually, it was the edge of the ocean, and I had crabs on me, crawling on me. I fell asleep on the beach and forgot about the tide. Big mistake. So, here we have some photos from hummus. Do you recognize where this is? Anything look familiar? This is the United States, out west. It's gorgeous pictures. This one might be my favorite. That might be my favorite. When I pull up my, I'll show you in a minute. Wow. Here we have some of the indigenous peoples of the area. You can really feel the vastness of the American West in these photos. But to me, there's also a sense of ancientness, that there's more to the West than we know or talk about. Like there's a history below the history. Like it's more like there were people there, we conquered them, we conquered the lands, we built our own shit, here we are. And the story, there's more nuance than that. There's more to it. There's more to the story. That should be my tagline for stuff I find interesting. There's always more to the story, because there is. That's beautiful. Live for the midnight love. Oh. So I think you'll agree. Wow, look at that. Use some sort of probably mining cart that was pulled up that, because it doesn't look like a railroad track, I don't think. So, go support Mr. Pally Inc. and his amazing song, Midnight Love. It's so funny. I'm always telling people to subscribe to I'm always telling you to subscribe to other people. I'm never telling you to subscribe to my own channel. because I don't want to. Like, if you want to subscribe, you'll subscribe. And if you don't, you don't. I'm not here to be like, hit that button, mash that button. If you do, you do. Obviously, I don't do this for the money. Now, I am, at heart, actually, before I play this song, let me play something else. Do you guys remember about a year back, maybe, there was a discussion that went viral about the use of glitter? And it was hinted by someone in the industry that you would never guess in a million years who buys the most glitter in the world. And that they can't talk about it. They can't talk about the glitter. Who buys the most glitter?
Can you tell me what your biggest buyer is?
No, I absolutely know that I can't.
Okay, but you know what it is?
Oh, God, yeah. You'd never guess it. Let's just leave it at that.
This is a reenactment of a conversation between a New York Times journalist and a manager at one of the largest glitter companies in the world.
Why can't you tell me?
She responds from a nondescript warehouse in suburban New Jersey.
Because they don't want anyone to know that it is glitter.
Interesting. You'll have to listen to the whole thing, or at least parts of it, if you want to know who's buying all the glitter. But let's use some common sense here and let's trace it back. Whenever we say they, who are we usually talking about? When we say things like, I'm not allowed to tell, what do we start thinking of, right? We start thinking of non-disclosure agreements. Who would have the most non-disclosure agreements in technology? Like, it wouldn't be the toothpaste people, I don't think, although I'm sure there's stuff there. It's got to be, it's them, This is so bad, it's good. Let me read how much sugar is in here. Let me be shocked. 60 grams of sugar. Oh my God. Yeah, that's a lot. So we're going to finish looking at pictures. I just wanted to share one more song with you, and that is, it's a little louder than the songs I usually play. At heart, there's a little part of me that's kind of a rocker. Like, I like to rock out to old, like, hair metal. And this song reminds me of rocking out to it reminds me of my hair metal days, because there was a time in my life when I did the bangs and I wore the slouchy sweatshirt and the socks, and I stayed up and I watched Headbangers Ball and I listened to hair metal. This is I closed it. This is a song that I discovered last week.
The pineal gland has...
Not that. I hate these ads. Nice. To me, baby, yeah. Now you know it was not all my fault. All right, so I'm just gonna put that kind of in the background. You can listen to it. It'll be in the links. Let's look at some really old pictures. This is from 1839. Photos from 1839. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about that's disappearing. 1839. These photos are incredible. My heart. You can see how the technology is just a little bit more primitive. It hasn't quite come together, but it's a photograph. 1839. This one might be my favorite. Incredible. In this picture, we can see rubble thrown into the streets. We have looks like 3 piles. And that's probably because, I think this is France, they were at war. incredible pictures. Just amazing. What's the last bit? What's the last bit of pictures? I think I had some more. I'm not sure why I saved this one. Probably just because it's incredible. So there you have it. Some incredible, this is the Colosseum. Some incredible photos for you to peruse and enjoy. And I hope you guys enjoy the music I share. I do love music. It's like one of my hobbies. So, what's going on in my life that's interesting? Nothing really. Preparing for the new school year. As all of you might know or not know, I'm a school secretary. So, the beginning of the school year is kind of a big deal. You got to make sure that the parents are informed. There's documents to be filled out. There's students getting transferred. I live in a district area where there's a lot of kind of moving around, due in part because of the high housing costs. People just can't afford to live like where they lived, so they have to go somewhere else. So in the city of Poughkeepsie where I live, you have entire families living in like a one bedroom because that's all they can afford. And you've got, the kids sleeping in one area and the adults sleeping in the other area. It's kind of a lot. So there's that going on. My life's pretty boring, actually. Not really a whole lot. A lot going on up here, right? A lot going on up here. A lot going on in here. Not necessarily a lot going on out here, which is okay. I'm okay with that. But I do have some goals that I want to accomplish this week, that I plan on accomplishing this week. I need to get into like mode. Every once in a while you got to spank yourself and, do that. But thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, I doubt very many of you have, but if you have, thank you. I appreciate you, and I hope everybody has a fantastic week.